Hi there, welcome to Kneppy Invests. One of the most important traits I have as an investor is that I do tend to have low conviction. And that means no matter how much research on a company, I'll never get to the point that I'm willing to invest all my capital into that one company because I'm always thinking if that company fails, I'm going to lose all my money. High conviction investors tend to do a lot of research on a company and have that sort of conviction where they're convinced themselves that a company will succeed no matter what in 5, 10 years. And they are willing to put all their money into that one idea. That sort of strategy might work for some investors on the ASX, but it doesn't work for me. And one of the advantages of being a low conviction investor is that I do know a small amount of information about a large amount of companies on the ASX. And one of the purposes of me doing this video channel is to share ideas about all these companies that I do know a little bit about with you. But sometimes I do come across a company that I don't know much about. It's just circumstances that I'll be doing a video on this company. And that is definitely true for the company I'll be featuring in this video, Karoon Energy. And the reason I'm doing a video on this company is that they were operational cash flow positive in the June quarter. And since I really haven't looked at them in the past, I decided I'll do a standalone video. So I had to do a little bit of research on this company. Now, I do know a small amount about Karoon Energy. And the only thing I knew or know about Karoon Energy was about 4 or 5 years ago, they had an enterprise value that was negative. That meant the net cash they had in the business was greater than the market cap. And that's all I knew about Karoon Energy until I started doing a little bit of research for this video. The thing that interests me slightly about Karoon Energy 4 or 5 years ago when I did look at them was the fact they did have a large amount of cash, hence why their enterprise value was negative. And one of the most important things the management of a company has to decide upon is the cash they generate in their operations, what they're going to do with that cash. For instance, Apple a few years ago were criticized because their cash levels were increasing to a fairly large amount. And because of that criticism, maybe not all because of that criticism, they decided to do a share buyback and increase their dividends. Now that's one route the management of a company can go down, is to give the money back to the shareholders. Another route is they could do more research and development of maybe finding new products that the public will like in 5, 10 years, maybe a new phone that could do even more wonderful things. But Apple decided to go down the route or road of giving their shareholders back some money. Now, Karoon Energy 4 or 5 years ago didn't have any cash generating assets at that point in time, so they were bleeding cash. So more than likely that share buyback and dividend road was cut off to them. It wasn't an option at all. Now, they were thinking at the time of acquiring a high quality cash generating asset. And 2 years ago, they found that asset. The asset they did acquire in the end was called the Bauna Oil Field offshore in Brazil for $665 million US. They did fund this acquisition through the cash they had in the business, through an equity raising, and I think they even raised a little bit of debt as well. It did fulfill one of their strategies to acquire a material production asset and to leverage their experience. Even though they did acquire this in about 2 years ago, the acquisition was completed late 2020, and they received the first payment in January 2021. So they've only issued 2 interesting Appendix 5Bs, and that was the March quarter and the June quarter. So not a lot of history about this new asset they did acquire 2 years ago, which was fulfilled or finalized late last year. The ticker code for Karoon Energy, KAR. The market cap for Karoon is $668 million at $1.15. And the receipts for the half year or the full year, $137 million. Now, that's only with about 6 months of production. And operating cash flow, $29.8 million as well. So again, that's only 1.5 year of production. Price to operating cash flow, 22, but again, that's based off 1/2 year of production. We're going to have to wait to see the full year results coming. I think they're being released on the 23rd of September. For more information on Karoon Energy, just go have a look at any presentation they've released recently. Go have a look at their Appendix 5B they released on the 29th of July, or just go to their website. So let's have a look at the March quarter and June quarter results. We'll look at the June quarter results in the next slide. We're going to really focus on the receipts and customers and then the operating cash flow. So the top number and the bottom number. So receipts and customers for the March quarter, the first quarter they were in production at the Bauna Oil Field, $97.2 million, and they were operational cash flow positive by $60 million. That's a lot of operational cash flow for a company with a market cap of $660 million. Beginning cash, $132.9 million. They finished the quarter with $173.2 million. They spent $7.6 million on capital expenditure and $15.2 million on lease repayments. The other thing you have to factor here, they were reporting in Australian dollars in this quarter, and then they transitioned to US dollars in the June quarter. And there's something else I have to discuss in regards to revenue, and I'll talk about that in the next slide when we look at the June quarter results. Again, for the June quarter, they were reporting in US dollars, and I don't have any exchange rates handy on me, but it does look like the receipts of customers, even though it was 61.9 million US dollars, was a little bit less than the March quarter. However, there is a difference between revenue and receipts, and they do sometimes recognize revenue in one quarter, and then they recognize the receipts received from that sale in the September quarter. That's exactly what happened, because one of their cargoes, their June cargo, was actually received in July. So that cargo, the revenue for that cargo would have been recognized for the June quarter, but the receipts will be recognized in the September quarter. Hopefully that makes sense. So sometimes you will get a bit of a difference between revenue and receipts. So even though receipts might be a little bit less in this quarter, they actually did sell or produce more oil in the June quarter, and they received more revenue as well for the oil they produced in the June quarter, because also the other thing you have to take into account, oil prices were higher for this quarter than the previous quarter. And all this means they were operational cash flow positive by $26.3 million US dollars. And they finished the quarter with $133.2 million. So cash on hand did increase during the quarter, even though they spent $13.5 million on capital expenditure and $10.7 million on lease repayments. Onto the charts for Karoon Energy. In the first chart I want to show you is the weekly chart that goes back to September 2013. And the share price of Karoon was under pressure from that period, probably even further back than that, all the way to when they made the purchase of Bauna in later period of 2019. There was only one period during 2016 where we did see the share price rise by a fair bit over a 4-week period. In fact, the share price rose from $1.25 to about $2.25 in a month's time. The volume also increased. So that looked like the share price could have been breaking out. However, it failed. There might have been some bad news released in 1 week, and then the share price started or moved back into the well-defined downtrend. When they did make this acquisition of Bauna, the market did get excited, and we did see the share price starting to rise on 2 occasions. Unfortunately for Karoon, this happened just before the COVID-19 financial panic. And during the COVID-19 financial panic, the share price of Karoon fell all the way down to 30 cents. But ever since that low, which should have been, probably would have been reached about March the 23rd, we have seen the share price of this company in a well-defined uptrend. But it looks like that well-defined uptrend might have been broken recently. In this slide, I've just zoomed in on the weekly chart, showing you the last 2, maybe even a little bit longer than 2 years. And I just wanted to show you this well-defined uptrend that Karoon Energy share price has been in since the COVID-19 financial panic, a beautifully defined uptrend. And all you have to do to sort of draw an uptrend is find when the share price has dipped, and then just draw a line like the first dip right here, if you can see my mouse, and just draw a line there and just keep that line going. You can see every single time the share price reached that dip here, reached it here, and then reached it here. The share price did bounce, and what you are waiting for here is for this trend line to fail. And it failed about 1 month ago, and we have seen the share price under pressure since then. So let's have a look at the daily chart, and you can actually see how better defined this uptrend has been just when you look at this slightly different chart. Now let's look at the daily chart with the uptrend portrayed by this sloping orange line. And it's quite a, or has been a powerful uptrend. And when I say powerful, I just mean every single time the share price has hit this uptrend line, the share price has bounced off it. And the more times the share price can bounce off an uptrend or a downtrend, it just means it's more powerful. And when the uptrend fails, you do have to take notice of that fail in or break in the uptrend. So this uptrend started in March of 2020. Now, initially, we don't know how powerful this uptrend is. In fact, we don't even know the shape of this uptrend or the slope. So we actually could have put in an uptrend to a low in the share price in April and another low in the share price in June, but those uptrends would have failed quite quickly. So I drew the line to this next low in July of the same year, 2020. And we still don't know how powerful this uptrend is because we only have the share price hitting this uptrend twice. We need validation that this is a good or powerful uptrend. And we get that in October and November. So 2 more instances when the share price hit this uptrend and then bounced off it quite easily. And then we just saw the share price keep on rising. So a good strategy to play here will be to buy the company when the share price has hit the uptrend and bounced off it. And that means the uptrend is still intact. And then again in May of this year, we saw the share price hit it on one day and bounce off it quite violently. And you can see that in the candlestick on that one day with a very large tail. That means as soon as the share price got to the uptrend, there was a lot of buying that came in, which sent the share price higher. And then we saw the uptrend again reached in July of this year, and again it bounced off it. But the bounce wasn't very strong. And all the way through this uptrend, we've seen higher highs and higher lows until we saw the most recent high, which was reached in early July. We haven't seen that high reached again. So even though there was a bounce, the next high was actually lower than the previous 2 highs. And just after that failed next high, the share price or this trend broke or failed in early August. And the share price has now moved in to a short-term downtrend, and we just got to have to wait and see how long this new downtrend will last. I do have a mission to cover or do a video on every single company that it did achieve an operational cash flow positive June quarter. The good news is I only have 5 more standalone videos to do, and these videos are on Mosaic Brands, MCS Security, Dynamic Drill and Blast, and Buddy. I also have numerous group videos to do, and in these group videos I will be covering at least 4 companies in each one. So look out for those videos during the next month. That's all I have for this June 2021 quarterly report video for Karoon Energy. If you have any questions about this company or any other company on the ASX, please leave a comment, question, or your thoughts in the comment section of this video. The last thing I should mention is I am not a financial advisor, and if you do need financial advice, make sure you seek out someone who is qualified and can speak to your own financial needs. That's it for this video. Have a good day. Bye.